Yes, hello once again. This is Server Dreamer. Welcome back again to Server Online Classroom. Hello to everyone. And for today's video, we will now continue our lesson. Okay, so now what we're going to discuss now for today's video, we are now going to discuss to you the properties of operations. Okay, are you ready to listen? Are you ready? Okay, very good. Okay, so let's start our lesson on the different properties of operation. Okay, so in the previous lesson, I have discussed to you how to perform operations on integers. Now, we are going to study the different properties of operation which have a vital role for operation on integers. Okay, so let's start. Let's start the different properties of operation. So let's have first, number one. Number one, or first property that we're going to discuss is commutative property. Okay, commutative property. What is commutative property? What is commutative property? What is commutative property again? Commutative property, the property states that the order of the addends or factors does not affect the result. I repeat. The order of the addends, order. Take note of the word order. Take note of the word order. The order of the addends in the addition or factors does not affect the sum. Did you get it? Very good. Addends or factors does not affect the sum or the result. For example, take note if this is a word, the order. For example, 12 plus 13 is equal to, so let's just rearrange the order. 13 plus 12. If you're going to perform this, it will give you the same answer, the result. For example, 12 plus 3, what is the answer? 25. And 13 plus 12, what is the answer? 25. So that is what we call commutative property. So another example, let's have another example. 6 times 3. Change the order of the factor. 3 times 6. 6 times 3. Let's do that. Let's perform. 6 times 3, 18. And 3 times 6 is 18. The same result. That is now what we call commutative property. This one, if addition, what do you call this? Commutative property of addition. Okay? Commutative property of addition. If the operation used, for example, this one, multiplication, what do you call the property? Commutative property of multiplication. Okay, CPM. In short, that is commutative property of multiplication. If CPA, commutative property of addition. Okay, so I repeat, what is commutative property? It is the property, it states that the order of the addends or the factor does not affect the result. Okay, very good. So that is our first property. So let's have our second property. Our second property is what we called what? Associative property. Associative property. This is our second property. Associative property. So, what is associative property? Okay, so associative property states that grouping or the grouping of the addends or the factor does not affect the result. Now, we are going to take note of the word grouping. Grouping. Ayan, we are going to group the addends or the factor. It will not affect the result. For example, okay, we are going to let A, B, and C to represent of integers. For example, A plus B, let's group this, plus C is equal to, regroup natin, let's regroup, A plus B, quantity of B plus C. So, we regroup the integers. If you're going to perform that, it will give us the same result. Same with multiplication. A times B, first multiply this one, times C. Regroup. A times B times C. If you're going to perform that, it will give you the same result. Okay, let's have example. Let's have example. Example for addition. For addition. If addition, the same thing. Addition property of addition, I mean associative property of addition or APA. Okay? For example, 6 plus 7 plus 4 is equal to 6 plus 7 plus 4. Let's perform. 6 plus 7, what is the answer? 6 plus 7. What is the answer? 13 plus 4 is equal to 6 plus 7 plus 4. What is the answer? 11. Okay. Let's continue. 13 plus 4. 13 plus 4, what is the answer? 17 is equal. 6 plus 11, 17. Okay, the same answer. So, it gives you the same result. So, that is what we call associative property of addition. Okay, now, let's proceed to multiplication. This is what we call associative property of multiplication. Example. Example. 2 times 1 times 4 is equal to 2 times 1 times 4. Let's perform. 2 times. First this one. 1 times 4. So 2 times 1 times 4 is 4. Very good. Now, 2 times 1. 2. Very good. Times 4. Now, perform. 2 times 4. 8 is equal to 2 times 4. 8. Okay. So, it gives you the same result. Okay. So, the operation we use is multiplication. So, let's call this property as associative property of multiplication or APM in short. Okay. So, that is associative property of operation. Again, associative property states that the grouping of the addends or the factors does not affect the result. Okay, did you get it? Very good. So, let's continue to the next property. Let's continue to the next property. What is the next property of operation? That is very important to know that we are going to apply in performing the operation on integers. Okay, so what we have the third one. The third one, we have number 3. We have distributive property. Distributive property. Okay, so that is the third one. Distributive property. So what is distributive property? Okay, so from the word itself, distributive, you are going to distribute. For example, let's take note, A, B, and C represent of integers. For example, this one, A, B, and C represent integers. Okay? So let's represent this as integers. Now, for example, A times the quantity of B plus C is equal to what? Perform. Okay, perform. A, you are going to distribute A to the term inside the parentheses. A times B, the answer is A, B, or A times B. Or in short, to make it clear to you, A times B. Use the operation plus. So we have A times C. So that is what we call distributive property. Distributive property over what? Or distributive property over addition. Okay? So another one, let's use the operation subtract or subtraction. A is equal to let's example, A times B minus C. B minus C. So let's distribute the same thing. A times B. A times C. What operation we're going to use is subtract. A times B minus, because of the operation minus, subtract. Quantity of A times C. So that is distributive property over subtraction. Or in short, let's make it short, distributive property. Okay? So this is what distributive means. How to do the distributive property. For example, let's have example how we're going to perform distributive property. Okay, for example, a distributive property. 2 times the quantity of 3 plus 5. Let's perform. Distribute 2 times 3. 2 times 3. What is the answer? 2 times 3. Or let's rewrite first. 2 times 3. Operation is addition. So plus 2 times 5. So let's perform. Let's continue perform. Answer the example. 2 times 3. 6. Plus 2 times 5. 10. So what is the answer? 16. If you're going to perform, the answer is 16. Did you get it? Very good. Do you want another example? Do you want another example? Do you want another example? Okay, so let's have another example. Let's have, for example, there is an unknown. There is an unknown answer. There is an unknown answer. Okay, for example, 5 plus times the quantity of n plus 2 is equal to what? The unknown one plus 5 times 2. Or what property? Or what is missing? What is missing on the blank? What is missing? Okay, very good. The answer is 5 times m. This is the missing term. So again, that is what we call distributive property. Okay, so that is distributive property. Okay, so let's proceed to number 4, property. What is our fourth property? What is our fourth property? This is what we call identities property. Okay, this is identities property. We have two to be considered under identities property. The first one is additive identity property. Additive Identity Property. Okay, so what is additive property? From the word itself, additive, this is addition. Okay, what is additive identity property? This is the property, the sum of any numbers, and 0 is the given number itself. 0 is the additive identity. 0 is the additive identity. Okay, take note of that. 0 is the additive identity. Any number added to 0 give always the answer. 0 is the given number itself. The sum of any number in 0 is the given number itself. For example, A plus 0. The answer is what? The given number. The number that you're going to add to 0 is always the answer. So the answer is A. Did you get it? For example of this property, 2 plus 0. What is the answer? 2. Very good. 2. 0 plus 9. What is the answer? 0 plus 9. 9. Okay, very good. So that is what does identity property. Which first one? Additive identity property. Let's have another example. Negative 12 plus 0. What is the answer? Negative 12 plus 0. So the answer is, the number to be added by 0 is always the answer. So negative 12. That is additive identity. Again, what is the additive identity on the additive identity property? 0. 0 is the additive identity. Take note of that. Okay, so let's have another one. We're done with additive identity. So let's have another one under identities property. We have the second one, the what we called what? Anyone? You can write on the comment section. You can write on the comment section what is the second one. On the second one, you can write, this is what we called multiplicative identity property. Multiplicative identity property. Okay, multiplicative identity property. This is the second one. From the word itself, multiplicative, the operation that we're going to use now is multiplication. But this multiplicative identity property, it is the product of any number and 1 is the given number itself. Because what is our multiplicative identity? What is our multiplicative identity? 1. Any number multiplied by 1, the answer is the given number itself. Take note of that, okay? Any number multiplied by 1 is the product. Okay? The 1 is the multiplicative identity. Example. Okay, for example, let A be the integers times 1. What is the answer? A. So any number multiplied by 1, it is the answer. We have the multiplicative identity 1. Okay, example. 7 times 1. What is the answer? What number we multiplied to 1? 7. Okay, so the product is 7. Very good. 1 times 10 is equal to what? 10. Very good. Negative 3 times 1. What is the answer? Negative 3. Okay, so that is what we called multiplicative identity property. Okay, that's the two identities property. We have additive identity property and multiplicative identity property. Okay, so we have the fifth one. The fifth one, what identity, what property? What property of operation? Under what operation? Division and multiplication. This is what we call inverse properties. Inverses. We have under inverses. The first one, additive. Also, we have additive inverse property. How this additive inverse property? How? Okay, this additive inverse property, the sum of a number and its opposite is 0. The sum of a number and its opposite is 0. For example, let A be the integers. For any number A, the additive inverse is negative A. Take note of that. The additive inverse is negative A. For example, A plus the additive inverse of A, negative A. So, the answer, let's make it clear. The answer is always 0. The sum of the number in its opposite is 0. So this is what we call additive inverse property. Okay, example. Negative 9. What is the additive inverse of negative 9? What is the additive inverse of negative 9? The additive inverse of negative 9 is 9. Okay, so the answer is 0. 10 plus, what is the additive inverse of 10? Of the number 10, negative 10. So what is the answer? 0. Always the answer is 0. Okay, so that is additive inverse property. The sum of a number in its opposite is always 0. Okay, that is additive inverse. So let's have the second one, the multiplicative inverse property. The multiplicative inverse property. Multiplicative inverse property. Okay, the multiplicative inverse property. How this multiplicative inverse property? Okay, now on multiplicative inverse, the product of a number and its multiplicative inverse or reciprocal. Okay, multiplicative inverse or reciprocal. Reciprocal is 1. Okay, now the product is always 1. The product of a number in its multiplicative inverse or reciprocal is 1. For any number A, the multiplicative inverse is 1 over A. So where A is not equal to 0. For example, thus A, the multiplicative inverse of A is 1 over A. If you're going to get, it is understood there is 1. To get the reciprocal, just interchange the denominator and numerator. 1 over A. Okay? Take note. So, we get the the product. Get the product. Get the product. What is the answer? A times 1. A1 or 1A. 1 times A, 1A. So that's why the answer is always 1. Because if you're going to divide the same number, the answer is 1. Okay? Did you get it? That is multiplicative inverse property. For example, 4 times the multiplicative inverse or the reciprocal of 4 is understood. Meron siyang may understood ang whole number always denominator of 1. So get the reciprocal, 1 over 4. Get the product. Get the product. 4 times 1, 4. 1 times 4, 1. If the numerator and denominator are the same, it is understood always the answer is 1 because 4 divided by 4 is 1. Okay? That is what we call multiplicative inverse of multiplicative inverse property. Okay, did you get it? Okay. So that is the 5 different properties of operation. Okay? The different properties of operation. The rules for the order of operation on integers are the same as those for the whole numbers. Take note, remember, the rules for the order of operation on integers are the same as those for the whole number. You are going to apply always the PEMDAS. In your elementary years, PEMDAS is already discussed. That's why you already know how to perform the operation. We've just discussed the operation that has vital rule in performing the operations of integers. Okay? So that is the different properties of integers. Okay, see you again on my next video for our next lesson, which is what we call now. Okay, so we will now continue. So I will just tell you what our topic on the next video. Okay, bye. Thank you for listening.